Hey everybody, it's Chuck Peterson, founder of Yogi Chuck Insurance Services, and I'm also a fellow yoga instructor, so this is by yogis, for yogis. And at Yogi Chuck Insurance Services, we help people that are yoga instructors and in the alternative health and wellness industry make sure that they have the proper insurance as their trusted advisor so that they can help serve their clients the best way that they can. So today I wanted to talk to you about a couple different things. And kind of break down insurance and why individual yoga instructors, dance instructors, personal trainers, fitness instructors, Zumba instructors, all these kind of different modalities need liability insurance and kind of what it covers. So to kind of take the myth away of all the legalese that's involved and kind of break it down in English and go over some of the key coverage components, why you need the coverage, why studios are requesting it, why it protects you and protects your students and your clients and allows you with the peace of mind to continue doing your job. So again, that's what we help you, is as your trusted insurance advisor, we make sure that you can continue helping and serving your clients with the peace of mind, knowing that you're not going to lose your assets, you're not going to hopefully have to work the rest of your life to pay off a judgment because you didn't purchase the correct insurance. And with all of the new modalities coming out in this area, it's more important than ever to make sure that you're properly covered. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. And we'll have future installments where we'll get into different things, where we'll get into waiver forms. We'll get into possibly considering, with the advice of your accountant or your attorney, an LLC or a corporation to make sure you're covered there. We'll talk about disability income insurance. We'll talk about workers' comp insurance. And we'll get into a lot of other things that are involved with studios and different modalities. But for now, we're going to talk about the key components and break down some myths and some ideas about individual instructors' policies. So with that being said, let's jump right into an individual instructor policy, why you need it, and what are the main components. And essentially, you want to have this coverage to protect yourself. And a lot of folks say, well, I don't have any assets and I'm not going to get sued. Well, that's an interesting point, but I'll say that, even if you don't have a lot of assets at this point, you can still, nothing can stop a client from suing you. And if they do, you have to be able to defend yourself. So there's going to be legal fees, and we all know those add up really, really quickly. So the coverage, will help cover you for that. And moreover, the policy, will make sure that if you are in trouble, that and you do get sued, and there is a judgment filed against you, that not only can they come after your current assets, but they can file a judgment, and you may have to work to pay that judgment off over time. So with the insurance, you can be protected and hopefully have the peace of mind if it's written properly, so that won't happen to you. So the first major component is general liability coverage. And with general liability coverage, we're talking about a per occurrence or per claim limit that would kind of cover you for such things as like slip and falls. If at your space or your premises or where you're teaching somebody falls over and you're negligent, because you left out a particular block or you tripped somebody or something like that. So this will usually be in the form of, let's say, $500,000 per occurrence limit, or $1 million per occurrence, or in some cases $2 million per occurrence, which is becoming the norm now. So you have $2 million of coverage per occurrence if you are sued. And that would include, most of the times, the defense costs are included inside that limit. So you have up to $2 million, including your defense costs, to defend yourself and cover any judgments. Above that, they can come after your personal assets still, but it's a very good limit. So that's one of the components there. There's also what's known as an aggregate limit of coverage, and essentially this could just be two $1 million claims within a year. So that's your total policy limit. So that's where you kind of get that aggregate limit if you see that. There's also a products completed operations limit. And by that, we're basically saying that, and this only really applies to somebody who has a completed product. So let's say, for the instance of those nutritionists out there, they give food samples. Well, that would be a completed product or operation if somebody gets sick as a result of that. So a lot of policies don't include that. So for each modality, we have to be careful. And again, that's why you want to talk to your trusted insurance advisor, even if that's not myself. Although we'd be glad to help you and answer any questions you have, because there are so many new modalities coming out. And don't assume that all policies have the same exclusions, that they cover the same things, that they encompass all the modalities that you teach. So be very careful of that when you're shopping for your policy. So the next part of general liability would be medical payments for participants. And this is usually included in a good policy, but again, not all policies, so make sure it's included. And what we're talking about here is medical payments for participants. Now this is the one coverage that doesn't have to necessarily, you have to be found negligent for this to apply. This is sometimes considered a goodwill coverage, if you will. And let's take the example of somebody who comes to a class and they get injured and they need stitches as a result of something you did. And hopefully this doesn't happen to your class. But if it does, there could be a chance this would actually afford them some quick medical payments, so to speak. Now, most of the time, this is written on an excess basis. So what that means is that if they have primary health insurance somewhere else, that's going to pick up first, and this might just pick up some auxiliary bills. But a lot of times, some of your students or clients may not have health care, especially in today's world. So it's important to have this included in your policy. And then also, one other component here, or two last components, are one is fire legal liability, or rented premises. So you're actually renting space, or you're teaching in a space, and something you do causes the place to burn down. Again, hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, that's usually included in this policy too. And that'll be pretty much the same limit as your each occurrence limit, so it could, or per claim limit. So it could be 1 million, it could be 2 million. Sometimes fire legal liability will be much lower at 50,000 or 100,000. So keep an eye out for that too. A lot of folks don't know to check for that. And finally, in the general liability component is personal or advertising injury. And essentially what this means is if you do an advertisement and you libel or slander someone, there could be some coverage there that's afforded. So happy to answer more questions on that, but in the interest of time, we're going to keep moving forward, which will bring us to the next component, major component in an individual expert or professional instructor's policy, such as a yoga instructor, and that would be the professional liability. So essentially, this is the main area of coverage for the most part, because you're giving your professional advice and expertise to your clients and students, and you're hoping that helps serve them. But as you give that advice, and as you make adjustments, and as you offer suggestions and so on, you're putting yourself out there as a professional, and you need to make sure that you have the proper professional liability coverage. So make sure that's included. And again, it's so critical in the expert space to make sure, as a professional, as an insurance advisor, as an attorney, as an accountant, but as a yoga instructor, as a meditation teacher, as a massage therapist, you have to make sure this is covered. The last component, major component in an individual instructor policy or an individual policy like this would be one that, again, I hope you never have to use, but you want to have it because, unfortunately, it's the world we live in today. And this would be abuse or molestation. And essentially, this will offer a sublimit. Typically, a lot of the policies and carriers would represent 100,000 each occurrence, 300,000 aggregate, so 100,000 per claim if you are accused of any type of inappropriate contact, abuse, molestation in your class. And again, I hope this doesn't happen to you, but you do want to make sure that it's in your policy just to protect you. And more importantly, even if it's a false accusation, you want to have the legal defense limit that's included in that to cover you for any legal defenses. So those are the four main components of an individual instructor's policy. And I do want to offer one kind of sidebar thought here, which may be a little controversial, but in today's world, I truly hope, if anybody who's watching this as a client of yours or a student or anybody in these classes, I would hope that folks, would take the personal accountability and not, just, what will I say, willy-nilly, just, throw up false accusations and sue the folks that are actually trying to really help them, serve them, teach them. So hopefully folks come in with a lot of personal accountability and integrity so that they won't sue you for when you're trying to help them. And I say that because it's so important for the student to own any past injuries they have, to own their personal health, to know where their particular edge is, so to speak, and how much they can push past it, and really own that space themselves, and obviously listen to your professional advice. And I will say this to the teachers too, please be careful, obviously, teach your full authentic class, but be careful about your adjustments and your professional advice, and always have them check with their healthcare provider and doctor, etc., or their nutritionist, whoever that professional may be, while you're helping them. But again, I think that's an important note because we live in such a litigious society, and hopefully people aren't running around suing their yoga instructor or their professional who's helping them, unless you did do something negligent. And that is why the insurance is there, for the peace of mind to protect you while you offer your professional advice. So with that aside, I just want to kind of recap here and just let you know that the main things to keep an eye out for when you're kind of renewing your policy, when you're taking a look at a policy as you become a new instructor, or you're considering a policy for the first time and you haven't been insured because a studio is asking you, or because you think it's the right thing to do now, and I'd highly encourage you to do that. Check out the general liability section on the things we talked about. Check out the medical payment section and make sure that that's included. Also make sure professional liability is included, and the abuse and molestation is also part of the policy. Those are the main components of the policy, and of course make sure your modalities are covered. So there are so many modalities, and there's new ones popping up every day. There's paddleboard yoga, just for instance. There's aerial yoga. There's acrobatic yoga. There's acro yoga. There's so many different new modalities. So make sure they're covered. And there's so many things we'll talk about in future installments about international travel, all kinds of different things. So we want to make sure you're covered. You want to check with your insurance advisor, even if it's not me, and make sure you're covered. And again, that may be something where you're also a massage therapist, where you're also a certified nutritionist, and you need to make sure products are covered. There's a whole scope of things to consider. So we'll jump into that on the next one. And we'll also get into a lot of other stuff about disability, healthcare, workers' comp, just a lot of general questions. And we'll dive more into studio coverage too, waiver forms, insuring your contents, business income, a lot of things that are overlooked and quite frankly haven't been discussed before. So I'm excited to help serve you on that. And until then, go out there and keep helping your clients, serve them fully, live vibrantly every day, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. I hope this helped you out, and until then, have a great day. Thanks. Namaste.